Hyunwoo Kim stood in the center of the Great Hall on Nexus Prime. The walls around him were made of crystal that sparkled with many colors. 12 different alien species sat in tall chairs looking down at him. Their eyes were cold and angry. The human ambassador wore his best blue suit. His hands were tied behind his back with energy chains that glowed red. He had been standing here for 3 hours now. His legs hurt, but he would not show weakness to these creatures. Above him, the Prime Arbiter spoke in a voice like breaking glass. Hyunwoo Kim of the planet Earth, you have been found guilty of crimes against galactic peace. Your species is too dangerous to exist with civilized beings. Hyunwoo lifted his chin. My people came here in peace. We offered friendship and trade. We followed all your rules. The Prime Arbiter's crystalline face showed no emotion. Your species builds weapons while speaking of peace. You train soldiers while claiming to be explorers. You cannot be trusted. In space above the planet, Captain Taemin Lee watched the trial from his ship's bridge. The Earth vessel Aegis floated in the dark between 2 alien warships. On the main screen, he could see his friend Hyunwoo standing alone against the entire galaxy. So Young Park, the communications officer, turned to her captain. Her face was pale. Sir, they're broadcasting this to every world in the galaxy. Billions are watching. Taemin's hands were tight fists.
They want to make an example of us.
Show the galaxy what happens when someone doesn't bow to them. Back in the trial hall, one of the alien judges spoke. This one looked like a giant insect with 6 arms. Human, your people fight wars on your own world. You have weapons that can destroy planets. How can we trust you? Hyunwoo looked at each of the 12 judges. Yes, we fight. Yes, we have weapons. But we also have art, music, and love. We take care of those who are weak. We help those who need help. Give us time to grow. Give us a chance to prove we can be better. The judges whispered among themselves in languages that sounded like wind and water and grinding stone. Then the Prime Arbiter stood up. The whole hall became quiet. The Galactic Council has made its decision. The human species will be placed under quarantine. Your worlds will be surrounded. Your ships will be destroyed. Your people will be watched until they learn to be peaceful. Hyunwoo shook his head. You mean until we become slaves? You will sign this document, the Prime Arbiter continued. It gives up all human rights to space travel and weapons. Your people will live on Earth under our protection. A floating table appeared in front of Hyunwoo. On it was a datapad with words in human writing. Hyunwoo read the document. It was worse than slavery. It was the end of human freedom forever. The ambassador looked up at the 12 alien faces. No, the word echoed in the Great Hall. Some of the aliens looked surprised. They were used to other species giving up when faced with the power of the Council. You refuse to sign? Asked the Prime Arbiter. I refuse to sell my people's future for your idea of peace, Hyunwoo said. His voice was strong and clear. Humans are not perfect, but we deserve the right to grow and learn like any other species. On the Aegis, Taemin watched his friend with pride and sadness. He knew what would happen next. They all knew. The Prime Arbiter raised one crystal hand. Then you have chosen death for your species as well as yourself. A silver device rose from the floor next to Hyunwoo. It hummed with energy. The ambassador looked directly into the camera that was broadcasting to Earth. Tell them we died free, he said. The device activated. Light filled the hall. When it faded, Hyunwoo Kim was gone. On Earth, President Ji-Hai Choi sat in the Global Defense Command bunker deep under Seoul. Around her were the most important military leaders of humanity. General Dong Hyun-yoon stood to her right. Admiral Sun Mi-han was at her left. Their faces were hard as stone. The big screen in front of them showed the empty spot where their ambassador had been standing. The alien judges were already leaving the hall as if killing a human was just another day's work. Madam President, General Yoon said quietly, the aliens are sending ships toward our colonies. They expect us to surrender now that they've killed our ambassador. President Choi stood up slowly. She had been waiting for this moment for years. Hoping it would never come, but preparing for it anyway. They think we're animals, she said. They think killing one of us will make the rest afraid. Admiral Han stepped forward. What are your orders, Madam President? Ji-Hee Choi looked at each person in the room. These were the men and women who had spent decades preparing for this day. They had built weapons in secret. They had trained soldiers in hidden bases. They had planned for the day when the galaxy would show its true face. They want to see what humans are really like, the president said. Her voice was cold as space itself. Let's show them. She walked to a red panel on the wall. Inside was a single button. Above it were 4 numbers, 7 to 7. Execute Protocol 77, she said. The president pressed the button. Across the earth, alarms began to sound. Not the warning alarms that meant danger was coming. These were different alarms. These meant that the danger was going out. In orbit around Earth, asteroids that had been floating quietly for years suddenly came to life. Lights turned on inside them. Weapons came out of hidden panels. What the aliens thought were dead rocks were actually the most powerful war stations ever built. On the dark side of the moon, huge doors opened in the ground. Giant guns rose up pointing at the stars. The aliens had been watching Earth for decades, but they had never really looked at the moon. Deep in space near the edge of the solar system, more asteroids woke up. But these ones started moving. They were not asteroids at all. They were warships built to look like rocks. Admiral Han smiled for the first time in hours. The sleeping giant is awake. President Choi turned to face the camera that would broadcast her message to the galaxy. When she spoke, her words would travel to every world, every ship, every alien who thought humans were weak. My name is Ji-Hai Choi, President of the United Earth Government. 1 hour ago, your Galactic Council murdered our ambassador. They expected us to surrender. They expected us to beg for mercy. She paused, looking directly into the camera. They were wrong. For the past century, while we spoke of peace, we prepared for war. While we offered friendship, we built weapons. While we hoped for understanding, we planned for betrayal. The president's voice grew stronger with each word. You killed 1 human today. You have awakened 4 billion more. You wanted to see humanity's true nature. You are about to get your wish. In the trial hall on Nexus Prime, the Prime Arbiter was walking away when an aide rushed up to him. The creature whispered something that made the crystal being stop and turn back to the screens. On every screen in the hall, President Choi's face looked back at them. Protocol 77 is now active, she continued. Every human ship, every human base, every human weapon that we told you didn't exist is now online. You have made the greatest mistake in galactic history. The Prime Arbiter's crystal face began to glow with fear. You should have accepted our friendship, President Choi said. Now you will face our wrath. The galaxy watched in shock as Earth transformed before their eyes. What they thought was a peaceful world of farmers and artists became something terrifying in minutes. Dr. Yoon-ji Kwon stood in her laboratory deep inside Mount Fuji. For 30 years, she had worked on projects that officially did not exist. Today, all her secrets would be revealed. Begin Phase 1, she said into her communication device. Across Earth, hidden doors opened. Underground factories that made farming equipment suddenly showed their true purpose. The equipment was weapons, giant guns that could shoot through space, missiles that could cross between stars. General Dong-Hyun Yoon walked through the command center under Seoul. Officers sat at hundreds of screens, each one showing a different part of human space. What the aliens saw as empty space was actually full of human military bases. Sir, said Major Woo Jin Kang, all hidden stations are reporting ready. The aliens still don't know we're there. The general smiled. 60 years of planning. Our grandfathers started this work when the first alien ships arrived. They knew this day would come. In space near Jupiter, an asteroid suddenly split open like an egg. Inside was a shipyard bigger than most alien cities. Hundreds of warships had been built here in secret. The aliens thought humans only had a few small exploration ships. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Captain Bo Ra-Yun commanded one of these hidden ships. The shadow of Earth was invisible to alien sensors. She had been watching alien fleets for years, learning their weaknesses. All stealth ships, this is Shadow 1, she said into her radio. Operation Dark Star is active. Begin tracking all alien vessels in human space. Across the galaxy, other ships just like hers became active. They had been hiding near alien worlds, pretending to be space rocks or broken satellites. Now they started sending information back to Earth. On the planet Nexus Prime, the alien leaders were beginning to panic. The Prime Arbiter called an emergency meeting. The 12 species that ruled the galaxy gathered in their crystal hall. How is this possible? Asked the insect-like Kovari leader. Our sensors showed only a few human ships. Now there are thousands. The reptilian Sarek commander hissed in anger. They have been lying to us for decades. While they spoke of peace, they built an army. The Prime Arbiter's crystal body glowed bright red with fear. Send all our fleets to Earth immediately. We must destroy them before they can attack us. But it was already too late. Admiral Sun Mi Han stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Vengeance. Around her were 50 other warships that had been hidden inside asteroids around Mars. Each ship was bigger and more powerful than anything the aliens had ever seen. "Admiral," said her communications officer, "we're receiving surrender requests from the alien colonies in the Alpha Centauri system." Sun Mi looked at the tactical display. Red dots showed alien ships. Blue dots showed human ships. There were 10 times more blue dots than red ones. "Ignore their surrender requests," she said. "They murdered our ambassador. They declared war on us. Now they face the consequences." Back on Earth, President Choi walked through the secret levels of the Global Defense Command. These floors had been built 50 years ago, but no alien spy had ever found them. She entered a room where Colonel Kyung-ho Nam was briefing his Special Forces soldiers. These men and women had trained their whole lives for this war. They were faster, stronger, and smarter than normal humans. "Madam President," the colonel said, "Strike Team Alpha is ready to deploy. We have targets on 12 alien worlds." "What kind of targets?" she asked. "Their military command centers, their communication arrays, their weapon factories," he paused, "and their leaders' homes." The president nodded. The aliens thought war was about big ships shooting at each other in space. Humans knew that war was about destroying the enemy's ability to fight back. In another part of the galaxy, Captain Taemin Lee was leading a rescue mission. His ship Aegis was approaching a world where the aliens had captured human colonists 3 years ago. The aliens claimed the humans had violated galactic law by mining asteroids without permission. "Sir," said his weapons officer, "the alien defense station is demanding we stop and surrender." Taemin looked at the space station on his screen. It was huge and covered with weapons. A year ago, he would have been forced to obey. "Lock weapons on their main reactor," he ordered. "Show them what human engineering can do." The Aegis fired once. The alien station exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from the planet below. On Earth, Dr. Yoonji Kwan was explaining the truth to a group of government officials. They sat in a secure room watching videos of human technology in action. "For 60 years we have been taking apart every piece of alien technology we could find," she said. "Their computers, their weapons, their ships. We learned how they work. Then we made them better." On the screen, a human ship fired a weapon that went right through an alien shield. The alien ship exploded. "Their shields stop energy weapons," Dr. Kwan continued. "So we made weapons that phase through shields and explode inside the ship." Another video showed human soldiers moving faster than the alien eye could follow. "Their warriors are strong but slow," she said. "So we made our soldiers faster." General Yoon stood up. "Every advantage they thought they had over us, we turned into a disadvantage. Every weakness they thought we had, we turned into a strength." The officials looked amazed and terrified at the same time. "How long have you been planning this?" one of them asked. "Since the day the first alien ship arrived at Earth," the general replied. "We knew that creatures who could cross space had to be dangerous. So we prepared." In space near the alien homeworld of Kavari, Captain Bo Ra-yoon's stealth ship was sending back intelligence. What she found made her sick to her stomach. "Command, this is Shadow 1, she said. "I'm looking at slave camps. Millions of beings from primitive worlds working in mines and factories." The voice of Admiral Han came back over the radio. "Confirm your last message, Shadow 1. "Confirmed." "The Kavari have been enslaving species that can't defend themselves. They take the smart ones for workers and kill the rest." Bora sent back images that shocked everyone on Earth. The aliens who claimed to be civilized were actually running the biggest slave operation in galactic history. President Choi saw the images in her command center. Her face became hard as stone. "Send a message to every human ship," she ordered. "New mission priority, free the slaves. All of them." Major Wu Jin Kang was leading the first ground assault on an alien world. His soldiers landed on Nexus Prime itself, right outside the Crystal City where their ambassador had been murdered. The alien guards rushed to stop them. They were big and strong, with natural armor and energy weapons. Against normal humans they would have won easily, but these were not normal humans. Wu Jin moved like lightning. His enhanced muscles let him jump 30 feet. His improved reflexes let him dodge energy blasts. His advanced weapons cut through alien armor like paper. In 5 minutes, his team had captured the main communication center. In 10 minutes, they controlled the landing pads. In 20 minutes, they were marching toward the council building. The aliens had expected a war in space. They got a war everywhere. Back on Earth, Admiral Han was preparing the main fleet for departure. 200 ships were ready to leave the solar system. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. "Admiral," said her tactical officer, "alien fleets are heading toward Earth from 6 different directions. They outnumber us 3-1. Sunmi smiled. "Perfect. Let them come. They still think this is going to be a fair fight." She turned to address her fleet commanders on the main screen. "Attention all ships. The aliens are coming to destroy Earth. They think we are weak. They think we are afraid. They are about to learn what it means to threaten humanity's home." The fleet began to move. As they left Earth's orbit, more ships joined them. Ships that had been hidden in space junk. Ships that looked like cargo vessels but were actually disguised warships. Ships that came up from the ocean floors of Earth's moon. The aliens were coming to fight a few dozen human ships. Instead, they would face over 1,000. President Choi watched the fleet depart from her bunker. General Yoon stood beside her. "Do you think they understand yet?" she asked. "The aliens?" He shook his head. "They still think we're the same species they met 60 years ago. They don't realize that we've been changing, growing stronger, getting ready." The president looked at the tactical display showing human forces spreading across the galaxy. "Ambassador Hyunwoo died to give us this moment," she said. "Now we make sure his death means something." In the Great Crystal Hall on Nexus Prime, the Prime Arbiter was receiving reports from across the galaxy. Every report brought worse news. Human ships have appeared in the Altair system. The Vega colonies are under attack. Our fleet at Rigel has been destroyed. The crystal being's glow was becoming dimmer with fear. "How many ships do they have?" it asked. We don't know," replied an aide. "Our intelligence was completely wrong. Instead of 50 ships, they have thousands." The Prime Arbiter looked at the empty spot where the human ambassador had died just hours before. "What have we done?" it whispered. The war was not going as the aliens expected. They had thought humans would fight like civilized beings with honor and fair rules. They were wrong. Admiral Sunmi Han stood on the bridge of her flagship watching an alien fleet approach. The enemy had twice as many ships as her human force. By alien rules, this should be an even fight. "All ships execute Plan Shadow," she ordered. Half the human ships suddenly disappeared from the alien sensors. The other half started retreating, looking scared and weak. The aliens followed, thinking they had won. When the alien fleet was spread out and far from help, the hidden human ships appeared behind them. The aliens found themselves trapped between 2 forces. It was over in minutes. Captain Bo-Ra. Yun was doing something even more shocking on the planet Sarek Prime. The reptilian aliens had built their cities underground, thinking they were safe from attack. Bo-Ra's team came up through the sewers. "Remember," she told her soldiers, "we're not here to kill civilians. We're here to shut down their military and free their slaves." The Sarek warriors were 7 feet tall with natural armor and claws. They should have been able to defeat small human soldiers easily. But the humans moved like ghosts, striking from shadows and disappearing before the aliens could fight back. In 2 hours, Bo-Ra's team had taken control of the main computer center. They downloaded everything: military plans, slave records, secret communications between alien leaders. What they found was worse than anyone had imagined. Colonel Kyung-Ho Nam was reading the intelligence reports in his mobile command center. His face grew darker with each page. "Sir," said Lieutenant Haewon-jeon, "the data shows they've been planning to wipe out Earth for 30 years. The trial was just for show." The colonel looked at star maps showing dozens of worlds. Red marks showed where primitive species had been destroyed by the civilized galaxy. "They killed the Kepler system natives last year," he said. "Claimed it was a mining accident. The records show it was deliberate genocide." Haewon pointed to another section of the report. "And here, sir, they've been using our own ambassador's reports against us. Every trade mission, every cultural exchange, they were gathering intelligence for an invasion." Kyung-Ho slammed his fist on the table. "We tried to be friends. We tried to be peaceful. They saw it as weakness." The truth was spreading across the galaxy through human information networks. Alien populations were learning what their leaders had really been doing. Some species were horrified. Others tried to deny it. The Altarian bird people had always prided themselves on being peaceful. When they learned their government had been buying slaves from other species, Riots broke out on their homeworld. The crystalline Nexari had built their civilization on pure logic. When the logic showed their leaders were genocidal criminals, their society began to crack apart. But some aliens fought back harder. The warrior race called the Vorthak decided to challenge humanity directly. Their fleet commander, War Chief Grak, sent a message to Admiral Han. "Humans," his voice boomed, "you fight like cowards. You hide and strike from shadows. Face us in honorable combat." Admiral Han's response was broadcast to the entire galaxy. "We don't fight for honor. We fight to win." The human fleet met the Vorthak armada in open space near the Betelgeuse system. The aliens expected a traditional battle with ships lined up shooting at each other. Instead, the humans used the star itself as a weapon. Dr. Yunji Kwan had spent 20 years studying stellar mechanics. Her ships carried devices that could trigger solar flares. When the Vorthak fleet got close to Betelgeuse, the humans made the star spit fire at them. Half the alien fleet was destroyed by their own sun. On Earth, President Choi was holding meetings with representatives from alien species that wanted to surrender. The meetings were not going well. "You must understand," said the Kovari diplomat. "We were just following orders from the council. Our people are not responsible." General Yoon stepped forward. "Your people built the slave camps. Your people operated the mines. Your people killed millions of innocent beings." The insect-like alien clicked its mandibles nervously. "But we can make peace now. We can forget the past and start over." President Choi shook her head. "There will be no forgetting. Every crime will be recorded. Every victim will be remembered. Every guilty party will face justice." The Kovari diplomat looked shocked. "You cannot judge an entire galaxy by your primitive human standards." The president's voice became ice cold. "Watch us." In space, Captain Taemin Lee was leading a rescue mission to a prison planet called Tartarus. The aliens had been sending criminals there for centuries. The crimes were things like refusing to work, speaking against the government, and being from a primitive species. The prison was built inside an asteroid. It was supposed to be escape-proof. Taemin's engineers had other ideas. "Sir," said his demolitions expert, "we've placed charges on the asteroid's weak points. One explosion and the whole prison will crack open like an egg." "Wait," Taemin said. "How many prisoners are inside?" "Over 1 million, sir. From 200 different species." The captain looked at the asteroid on his screen. "We're not blowing it up. We're going in to get them." It was the largest rescue operation in galactic history. Human ships docked with every port on the asteroid. Soldiers fought through corridors filled with alien guards. Engineers cut through walls to reach prisoners in sealed sections. In 6 hours, they had freed every single prisoner. Many of the rescued beings had never seen humans before. But they all understood one thing. These small creatures had come to save them when no one else would. A young female from a species called the Andromedans spoke for many. "Why did you risk your lives for us?" "We are nothing to you." Taemin knelt down to her level. "Every life has value. Every being deserves freedom. That's what makes us human." The rescued prisoners became some of humanity's strongest allies. They knew what freedom meant because they had lost it. They knew what justice meant because they had been denied it. On the planet Vega 7, Major Woojin Kang was doing something the aliens thought was impossible. He was turning their own troops against them. The Vegan military was made up mostly of soldiers from conquered worlds. They fought for the aliens because their families were held hostage. Woojin's team had rescued those families. "Attention vegan forces," he broadcast on all military frequencies. "Your families are safe. You are free to choose your own path." Within hours, half the vegan military had joined the human forces. The other half surrendered without a fight. It was happening all across the galaxy. Species that had been forced to serve the Council were switching sides. They brought with them detailed knowledge of alien defenses and secret bases. The Council's empire was falling apart from the inside. Admiral Han was leading the main human fleet toward Nexus Prime itself. Intelligence reported that the alien leaders were gathering there for a final stand. "Admiral," said her tactical officer, "we're detecting massive energy readings from the planet. They're charging some kind of superweapon." Han looked at the data. "It's a planet killer. They're going to destroy their own homeworld rather than let us capture it." She opened communications to the alien leadership. "This is Admiral Sunmi Han of the Earth Defense Force. Surrender now and your people will be treated fairly." The Prime Arbiter's crystal voice came back full of hate. "We will never surrender to animals like you. We will destroy ourselves before we bow to humans." Han sighed. "So be it." She turned to her weapons officer. "Target their weapon with the quantum disruptors. If they want to die rather than face justice, they can die knowing they failed." The human ships fired. The alien superweapon exploded while still charging, taking out half the planet's military installations. But the aliens had one more surprise. Hidden fleets emerged from the far edges of the galaxy. These were the Council's secret reserves, kept hidden even from their own people. Thousands of ships crewed by fanatic alien soldiers who would rather die than see humans win. The final battle was about to begin. Captain Bora Yun received the alert while her stealth ship was near the galactic core. "All ships, this is Admiral Han. Enemy reserves are moving toward Earth. All forces return home immediately." Bora looked at her star charts. It would take 3 days to reach Earth even at maximum speed. The alien fleet would get there first, but humanity had one advantage the aliens had forgotten about. They weren't just fighting for territory or resources. They were fighting for their home. Every human ship in the galaxy turned toward Earth. Merchants, explorers, colony ships, and warships all began the journey home. They came from 1,000 different places, but they all had the same destination. The aliens thought they were attacking one world. Instead, they would face the entire human species united in defense of their birthplace. President Choi stood in the Global Defense Command watching the tactical display. Red dots showed alien fleets approaching from all directions. Blue dots showed human ships racing home. "How long until they arrive?" she asked. General Yoon checked his calculations. "The aliens will reach Earth in 18 hours. Our fleet will arrive 6 hours after that. Then Earth stands alone for 6 hours. The general nodded. "Yes, Madam President. But Earth is not defenseless." She looked at the display showing the solar system. Hidden bases, disguised weapons, and secret defenses that the aliens still didn't know about. The alien fleets arrived at Earth like a storm of metal and hate. 3,000 ships from 12 different species, all united in their desire to destroy humanity once and for all. Fleet Admiral Minho Song stood in the Solar Defense Center built deep inside the moon. Around him, officers tracked every enemy ship as they entered the solar system. "Sir," said Commander In-Soo Choi, "they're spreading out to attack all our colonies at once. Mars, Europa, Titan, the asteroid mining stations." Minho nodded. The aliens had learned from their previous defeats. Instead of attacking Earth directly, they would destroy everything humans had built, then finish off the homeworld. "They think we'll surrender to save civilian lives," he said. "They're about to learn that attacking innocents only makes us angrier." On Mars, 2 million people lived in the Great Dome cities. When the alien attack began, something unexpected happened. The domes didn't break. Instead, they transformed. Dr. Eugene Park had spent 15 years designing the colony defenses. What looked like peaceful farming domes were actually the most advanced fortresses ever built. "Defense Grid Alpha, this is Mars Command," she said into her communicator. "All systems are active. Show them what human engineering can do." Weapons rose from what the aliens thought were wheat fields. Shield generators that had been disguised as water treatment plants came online. The peaceful farming colony became a military fortress in minutes. The aliens attacked with everything they had. Energy beams that could melt through starship armor hit the Mars shields and bounced off harmlessly. "Impossible," said the alien fleet commander. "Nothing can withstand that much firepower." Dr. Eugene smiled as she watched the readings. "You never understood human technology. You copy what others make. We create what never existed before." The Mars defenses weren't just shields. They were energy collectors. Every shot the aliens fired made the human weapons stronger. When Mars fired back, the aliens learned what their own energy felt like when it was improved by human science. On Europa, the ice mining station was under attack by a Vorthak battle group. The warrior aliens expected to find frightened miners hiding in tunnels. Instead, they found Commander In-Soo Choi and his Special Forces team. In-Soo had volunteered for the Human Enhancement Program after his family died in an alien attack on New Sol Colony. The biomodifications had made him faster and stronger than any natural human, but more importantly, they had made him angrier. "All teams, this is Reaper 1, he said to his enhanced soldiers. "Remember New Sol. Remember why we fight." The Vorthak warriors were the most feared fighters in the galaxy. They stood 8 feet tall, had natural armor, and could tear through steel with their bare claws. The human reapers tore through them like they were made of paper. Insu moved so fast that the aliens couldn't track him. His enhanced muscles let him punch through their armor. His improved reflexes let him dodge attacks that no normal human could see coming. In 30 minutes, the Vorthak battle group was destroyed. Not a single reaper was seriously hurt. The aliens began to realize they weren't fighting the same humans they had met 60 years ago. These humans were something new, something evolved, something dangerous. Back on Earth, President Choi was receiving reports from across the solar system. Every human position was holding against attacks that should have destroyed them. "Madam President," said General Seo Jun Kim, "the alien commanders are requesting to speak with you directly." She looked at the communication screen. The face of the Prime Arbiter appeared, its crystal features dim with defeat. "Human leader," it said, "we underestimated your species, but this war benefits no one. Let us make peace." President Choi's voice was cold as space. "You murdered our ambassador. You attacked our colonies. You tried to enslave our people. There will be no peace until justice is served." "What do you want from us?" the alien asked. "Complete surrender. War crimes trials for your leaders. Freedom for every enslaved species. And guarantees that this will never happen again." The Prime Arbiter's crystal body flashed with anger. "You ask us to destroy ourselves." "No," the president replied. "We ask you to become civilized." The communication ended. The aliens made their choice. Instead of surrendering, they sent a secret signal to their most hidden weapon. On a dark planet at the edge of the galaxy, an ancient device began to charge. It was older than most species, built by a race that had destroyed itself with their own hatred. Dr. Yoo-Jin Park detected the energy signature from her laboratory on Mars. What she saw made her blood freeze. "Command, this is Dr. Park. The aliens are activating a galactic-scale weapon. Energy readings suggest it can destroy entire star systems." Fleet Admiral Song received the report in his command center. "How long until it's ready to fire?" 6 hours, sir. "And the target appears to be our sun." The aliens had decided that if they couldn't rule the galaxy, they would destroy the part that had beaten them. By killing Earth's sun, they would murder every human in the solar system and send a message to any other species that might resist them. "All human fleets, this is Admiral Song," he broadcast to every ship in the galaxy. "Emergency protocols are now in effect. The enemy is targeting our sun. All ships return to Earth immediately." But it would take days for most human ships to reach home. The weapon would fire in hours. Commander Insu Choi stood in the briefing room with his Reaper teams. "Sir," said one of his soldiers, "how can we fight a weapon that destroys suns?" Insu looked at the tactical display showing the weapon's location. It was on a planet surrounded by alien fleets and protected by energy shields that could stop any normal attack. "We don't fight the weapon," he said. "We fight the people using it." It was the most dangerous mission in human history. A single ship would have to cross the galaxy, break through alien defenses, and destroy a weapon powerful enough to kill stars. Insu's ship, the Vengeance of Sol, was the fastest vessel in the human fleet. It had been built using technology stolen from a dozen alien species and improved by human engineers. "Sir," said his pilot, "even at maximum speed, we'll barely reach the target in time." "Then we go faster than maximum speed," Insu replied. Dr. Yoo-Jin Park had been working on experimental engines that could fold space itself. They had never been tested because the energy required could destroy a ship. "If we use the experimental drive," she warned, "there's a 50% chance the ship will be torn apart." Insu looked at his team of volunteer reapers. Every one of them had lost family to alien attacks. Every one of them was ready to die to protect Earth. 50% is better odds than we usually get, he said. The Vengeance of Sol disappeared into folded space, crossing the galaxy in minutes instead of days. When it appeared near the weapon planet, the aliens couldn't believe what they were seeing. "How did they get here so fast?" the alien commander asked. "It doesn't matter," replied his weapons officer. "One small ship cannot stop us." They were wrong again. The Vengeance didn't attack the planet's shields or try to fight the defending fleets. Instead, it did something the aliens couldn't understand. It flew directly into the planet's atmosphere and landed like a meteor. Insu and his Reapers emerged from the crashed ship like demons from hell. They moved through the alien base faster than the defenders could react. where normal humans would have been stopped by guards and barriers. The enhanced soldiers went through everything in their path. The weapon was in the planet's core, protected by layers of defenses that should have taken days to breach. The Reapers reached it in 20 minutes. But when they arrived at the weapon chamber, they found something unexpected. The device wasn't just a weapon, it was a living creature, a being of pure energy that the ancient race had enslaved to destroy their enemies. Please. The creature spoke directly into their minds. I have been trapped here for 10,000 years, forced to destroy worlds against my will. Free me, and I will help you. Insu looked at the chains of energy that held the being. They were made of the same technology as the weapon itself. To free the creature, he would have to destroy the very thing he came to stop. If we free you, he asked, what will you do? I will return home to the space between stars, the creature replied. And I will ensure that no one ever builds weapons like this again. The Reaper commander made his choice. Instead of destroying the weapon, he destroyed its controls. The energy being broke free from its prison, released after millennia of slavery. The creature kept its promise. As it departed for the void between galaxies, it sent a pulse of energy that disabled every weapon of mass destruction in alien space. Suddenly, fleets that could destroy planets found themselves armed with nothing more dangerous than conventional missiles. On Earth, Admiral Song watched the readings with amazement. All enemy superweapons have gone dark. Their fleets are operating at 10% combat effectiveness. President Choi smiled for the first time in days. Signal all human forces. Begin the final advance. The battle for Earth's solar system was over in hours. Alien ships that had seemed unstoppable were now helpless against human technology. Some surrendered. Others tried to run. None escaped. The Prime Arbiter sent one final message to Earth. You have won, humans. But victory will change you. You will become like us, conquerors and tyrants. Power corrupts all species. President Choi's response was broadcast to every world in the galaxy. 6 months after the war ended, President Ji-hai Choi stood in the Great Crystal Hall on Nexus Prime, the same hall where Ambassador Hyun-woo Kim had died. But now it looked very different. The tall chairs where alien judges had once looked down on other species were gone. In their place were simple seats arranged in a circle. Representatives from over 300 species sat together as equals. The old Galactic Council is dead, President Choi announced to the assembly. Today we begin something new. A true democracy where every voice matters, no matter how small or different. Admiral Ye Jin-oh stood at attention nearby. She had been chosen to lead the new Galactic Peacekeeping Force. It was made up of volunteers from dozens of species who had chosen to serve under human leadership. Madam President, said a small furry creature from the Andromedian system, how do we know humans will not become like the old council? Power changes people, it was a fair question. Many species were grateful to be free, but they were also afraid. Humans had shown they could destroy anyone who opposed them. What would stop them from becoming tyrants? President Choi smiled gently. Because we remember what it felt like to be threatened with extinction. Because we know what it's like to have someone more powerful try to control us. And because we're building systems to make sure no single species, including humans, can rule over others. Director Jae-sung Lim stepped forward with a data pad. He had spent months documenting the crimes of the old council. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission had interviewed millions of beings from across the galaxy. The records show that the previous government destroyed over 200 species, he announced. Billions of beings were enslaved, murdered, or had their worlds stolen. These crimes cannot be forgotten or ignored. Some of the former council species looked uncomfortable. They had hoped the new government would let the past stay buried. However, Director Lim continued, we have also found evidence that many individuals tried to help the victims. Some alien soldiers refused orders to kill innocents. Some officials secretly freed slaves. Some entire worlds tried to resist the council's commands. A reptilian Saurek representative stood up. What does this mean for our people? We were part of the old system, but many of us had no choice. Captain Siwoo Park, representing the younger generation of humans, answered, it means we judge individuals by their actions, not by their species. Those who committed crimes will face justice. Those who were forced to obey will be forgiven. Those who helped victims will be honored. It was a new concept for the galaxy. The old council had judged entire species as good or evil. Humans believed that individuals could choose to be better than their governments. On the former prison planet Tartarus, something amazing was happening. The asteroid that had once held 1,000,000 slaves was being turned into a memorial and learning center. Commander In-Soo Choi, still enhanced but no longer needing to fight, was working with former prisoners to build the memorial. Beings from hundreds of species worked together, sharing their stories and making sure the galaxy would never forget. "This memorial is not just for the dead," he said at the dedication ceremony. "It's for the living. It reminds us what happens when we let fear and hatred control us." A young Kavari, one of the insect-like species that had run slave camps, approached him after the ceremony. "Commander," she said, "my people did terrible things. How can you work with us? How can you forgive us?" In-Soo looked at her. She had been a child during the war, innocent of her people's crimes. "Because you're not your government. You're not your species past. You're you, and you get to choose what kind of person you want to be." Back on Earth, Dr. Eugene Park was working on her greatest project yet. The Global Technology Sharing Initiative would give all species access to the scientific advances that humans had developed during the war. "Sir," said her assistant, "some military officials are concerned about sharing our weapons technology with former enemies." Dr. Park looked at the plans for medical scanners, food production systems, and energy generators. "We're not sharing weapons. We're sharing tools to build better lives. The best way to prevent future wars is to make sure everyone has enough to eat and medicine when they're sick." It was a radical idea. The old galaxy had been built on scarcity. Some species hoarded resources while others went without. Humans believed that abundance shared was better than abundance hoarded. The new system wasn't perfect. There were still problems and disagreements. Some species tried to cheat the new rules. Others wanted revenge against their former oppressors. But there was something different about how these problems were solved. When the Vorthak demanded the right to execute all former council members, they were told no. When the Altarians tried to claim exclusive rights to a valuable star system, they were told to share. When some humans suggested that Earth should have special privileges as the liberator species, they were reminded that liberation meant equality. Admiral Ye Jin-Oh found herself mediating disputes that would have been solved with violence under the old system. Her peacekeeping ships carried diplomats and mediators as well as weapons. "Admiral," said one of her captains, "wouldn't it be easier to just impose solutions by force? We have the strongest military." Ye Jin shook her head. "Easy isn't the same as right. If we force people to obey, we're no different from the old council. We have to be better." The real test came when a group of radical aliens tried to restart the war. They hijacked ships and attacked human colonies, hoping to prove that the new system was weak. The galaxy waited to see how humanity would respond. Would they revert to the brutal tactics that had won the war? Instead, they did something unexpected. Human ships surrounded the rebel fleet, but instead of attacking, they broadcast a message. "We know you're angry," said the human commander. "We know you feel like you've lost everything. But destroying innocent people won't bring back what you've lost. It will only create more pain." Some of the rebels surrendered immediately. Others tried to fight and were quickly defeated. But the humans made sure that even the rebels were treated fairly in prison. "They're showing mercy to people who tried to kill them," observed an alien journalist. "I don't understand humans." "That's exactly why they're fit to lead," replied her editor. 1 year after the war, a special ceremony was held on Nexus Prime. A statue was unveiled in the center of the Crystal City, a memorial to Ambassador Hyun-Woo Kim. The statue showed the human diplomat as he had been in his final moments, standing tall and defiant in the face of death. The inscription read, "He died so that freedom might live." President Choi spoke at the dedication ceremony. Ambassador Kim came here hoping for peace. Instead, he found hatred and fear. But his death was not meaningless. It showed the galaxy what we were willing to sacrifice for our principles. Representatives from every species in the galaxy attended the ceremony. Even former council members who were now in prison sent messages of respect. "I hated humans," said one former Kavari general. "I thought they were dangerous animals who would destroy civilization. I was right about one thing. They did destroy civilization, but only to build something better in its place." The ceremony ended with children from dozens of species playing together in the shadow of the memorial. Humans, Altarians, Sorek, Kavari, and many others. The first generation to grow up in a truly free galaxy. Captain Siwoo Park watched them play and smiled. My grandfather fought in the war, he said to a young Vorthak who was visiting Earth. He always said the real victory wouldn't be winning battles. It would be making sure our children never had to fight those battles. The young alien nodded. My grandfather was a warrior who tried to destroy your people. Now I'm studying human art and philosophy. Things change? Yes, Siwoo agreed. They do. As the ceremony ended and beings from across the galaxy returned to their homes, President Choi remained in the Crystal Hall. She stood where Hyunwoo had died, thinking about how far they had all come. General Seo-jun Kim approached her. Madam President, the latest reports show that slavery has been eliminated from 90% of the galaxy. Crime rates are at historic lows. Economic cooperation between species is at an all-time high. She nodded, pleased but not surprised. And the remaining problems? Some isolated worlds still resist the new order. A few criminal organizations try to exploit the transition period. Nothing we can't handle with patience and persistence. President Choi looked at the memorial statue. Hyunwoo would be proud. He believed that all species could learn to live together in peace. It just took a war to prove he was right. The general smiled. Do you think humanity will be able to step back from leadership when the new systems are fully established? It was a good question. Throughout history, liberators had often become new oppressors. Would humans be different? I hope so, the president said. Because the real test of our success won't be how well we can rule. It will be how well the galaxy can govern itself when we're just one voice among many. Outside the Crystal Hall, the sun was setting over Nexus Prime. Ships from 100 worlds flew through the sky, carrying traders, tourists, students, and diplomats. The galaxy was alive with possibilities that had been impossible under the old order. Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim had died believing in a better future. That future was no longer a dream. It was reality.